Hello, I'm Kate Thomas, and this is At Home Radio, a podcast about feeling at ease where we are, whether it's with ourselves or out in the world. We're back with Justin Allen Hayes, author of The House of You, Prescription for Living, his autobiography of mental health recovery. Good to see you again, Justin.
Good to see you too. Thank you.
First, let's talk a little about public figures and mental illness. Occasionally, celebrities play out their mental health issues on a very public stage. That's been the case with billionaire rapper Kanye West, who has bipolar disorder. He vents against his wife, Kim Kardashian West, on social media, while also running for president of the United States. Celebrities such as Kanye West clearly bring attention to mental illness. So my question to you, Justin, is, do you think this amplification helps or hurts the cause? Or does it do a little of both?
I think it does a little of both. I think having someone that is out there as big of a celebrity as Kanye is relatable to others. So others may look up to him as a role model, as an artist, as a person. And to know that someone at that caliber is struggling with maybe some of the same issues that they are, I think that is good. And then on the flip side, I think that there could be some negativity where those others where you look through your Twitter comments and people, I don't know how we got to where we are, but some people are just very not nice to others. And I think that this is just one of those topics that people who have that mean-spiritedness might say, oh, well, he's crazy. He's out there. Well, of course, all these things that he did in the past. Well, now it makes sense. And they start to judge him. And I think that's really where, as a society, we need to focus on, because I think that as human beings, especially going through the pandemic, we all need to band together. And we've all been through this life of being competitive with others, and I have to beat this person out for this job, and for the top person in my class for grade point average or whatever it may be. And I think sometimes that competitiveness really takes that human being of we're all humans. I think it takes that for granted, and I think that people need to be more compassionate, especially to others, regardless if they have a mental illness or not. But for Kanye to put that out there, I think that's very brave of him to do, because of his big following and because everything is amplified.
Yes, for sure. And that's something that his wife even implored others on, I think it was on Instagram that I read it, others to keep in mind how very difficult it is to deal with these issues and to have some understanding, whether they have affected your life or not. And I thought she was quite good in that post that she did. So yeah, it's really amazing about how, many times these things have come up. The problem that Robin Williams had too, which was a form of dementia. That was just heartbreakingly sad. And yet it brought all this attention to that particular form of dementia. So I don't know, there are, just as you say, good things and bad things about it. Now, of course, the celebrity experiences with mental illness are obviously different from those of regular people, simply because of the public stage they're on, and that people care because so many people care because they know who this person is. So those are the differences, but are there also similarities? Have you found that?
Oh, definitely. There are. And one that I like to just call out with Kanye, there was an episode he was going through when he was in his bigger bipolar episode, where there were pictures of him going into an emergency room, and he was there for 15 minutes. He left. He went back to his ranch in Wyoming. the emergency room was in Wyoming as well. For those that may be wondering, I was wondering myself when this first came out. And then an ambulance was called to his ranch. And so, of course, the paparazzi were like, what's going on? Kanye was just at the emergency room. Then he left. And then an ambulance came. And, is he okay? And then he was four-wheeling on his ranch. And I know exactly what that feels like. He went into the emergency room because he was feeling very panic stricken. And so he wanted to go get checked out. And he went to go get checked out. There were a lot of people there. It kind of freaked him out. I mean, to be just transparent, all those people there, he just wanted somebody to check him out. And so he left, went back to the ranch, had the ambulance come, and they checked his vitals and his heart rate. Everything came back that he was okay, that he was just going through what they call like an episode where things just get maybe a little out of control for the time. And myself, I've been in the situation not where I've gone to the emergency room and left and had a squad come right away, but I went to the emergency room 3 times within 2 weeks for the very reason. I was having increased heart rate, palpitations. I wasn't eating, so that was part of things that every little stressful event was magnified. But then once I got to the emergency room, there were all these people there, and all I wanted to do is get checked out. I didn't want to have to, wait hours and hours. And really, I totally understand how he felt in that particular instance, and it's no different than myself or any non-celebrity that goes through these types of episodes. That they're serious. It's not something to laugh at on social media.
Right, absolutely. Well, mental illness is challenging even in the best of times. During a pandemic, it's even more so. In your experience, what has been most challenging during this time, this COVID-19 time, and how have you coped?
The biggest challenge is having to stay indoors, and I call it physically distant. The term is social distancing, but it's more physical distance because you can't physically be next to somebody, or socially you can. We can be on Zoom, we can be on FaceTime, and the biggest thing was, and still is when I'm not able to be around family and others to get that social validation and just be around others, just being a human being. We're social creatures. Sure. And going from being in that major depressive state, which I'm still on the road to recovery from, and going through 2 years of therapy and visits with my psychiatrist, I almost felt like some of that progress was detracted once the whole pandemic came, because I was used to going out and doing things and getting back to my former self. And now I am back to, oh my gosh, now I have to stay inside more. I have to really watch what I'm doing. And so it's really just taking the extra time to reach out to others, whether that is FaceTime, whether that is seeing my nephews play a baseball game but wear a mask, and all the different things that every human being that we're really challenged with at this time. And so I've really had to just use every ounce of strength and therapy and the medication and everything to just really bolster myself to want to push on, where it very easily, and some people may have just wanted to give up and say, I've gone through all this, I've made it to this point, and now all my therapy is kind of gone by the wayside.
Sure. That is hard. You really have to dig down, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're very open about mental illness, and you say in your book that acceptance was a key first step toward recovery. What do you mean by that?
Men, and just to throw it out there, men are supposed to be strong. They're supposed to not let little things get to them. They're not supposed to cry. That, all of these that these or those people out there, whoever those people are,
All those
and
rules.
all those rules, and we're, as me being a male, really not wanting to accept at the time that I was a person that needed help, that I couldn't do everything myself. I couldn't self troubleshoot every issue that I was having. That going to my family physician, while great for physicals and for colds and the sore, I couldn't rely on them for the more specialized mental health treatment, because they just aren't. They just don't go through as much schooling and training for that. Where it's like psychiatrists and those in the psychological field and therapists, that's their specialization. And I really didn't want to accept that. And it was really when my back was against the wall, that third, may have been that fourth ER visit, when I was in a car with my dad. He was driving me because I was going through panic attacks driving, on the way to drop off some test results from one doctor to another, and started to black out in the car. And we got through a light, I just remember, and my dad called 911. The squad came and got me and ended up taking me to the hospital. And it was at that point when I felt that I needed to make a decision of, am I going to get treated and accept and voluntarily admit myself into a psych ward, which before I'd be like, oh my gosh, like those people are crazy. Like, or I would just have that stigma attached to that. And it was very wrong for me to do. Or I could leave because all the tests were coming back fine. I said, oh yeah, you just need to hydrate yourself. Well, little did they know I wasn't eating, but 200-300 calories a day. I had dropped, I think it was 35 pounds. And so when the psychological folks did come in finally and say, look, we can admit you or we can let you go. And I talked to my wife and she says, you need to make a decision for you. And while I was trying to make all the decisions and all the, let's call it all the research and do all the troubleshooting myself, I would look to others and say, hey, do I look okay? And everybody would say, oh yeah, you look great. Yeah, you dropped some weight. You look fine. But they weren't able to see kind of everything that was inside me, that what was going on. And so I had to swallow my pride and say, yep, I'm going to give away my phone, everything that I couldn't take up to those floors due to, they put you on, basically it's suicide watch, where they check you every 15 minutes and whether you're sleeping or whether you're awake. And it was very difficult for me to say, yep, I have a problem, but I want to get better. And the only way I'm going to get better is to have professional psychological help. And those were probably, looking back, as wild as it is, those are probably one of the best 5 days I've had, because I was getting the help from the medication. I was getting the help from the therapy. The psychiatrist was giving their input. And then it was very poignant, and it was for me. It wasn't for the other individuals there. And so I felt that I was really being taken serious. And then I had to really just swallow my pride and say, look, Justin, you need help. And if that means going to therapy and taking medication the rest of your life or for an extended period of time, then so be it, because everybody's going through something. We just don't know.
Absolutely. So acceptance, key first step. What are some of the other tools in your prescription for living toolbox?
Keeping up with my psychological support from the therapist visits and my psychiatrist visits, just going to the appointments when they're scheduled, scheduling them out.
Do you do them remotely now?
Yeah, we do remotely.
Yeah. Everything's remote. Silly question.
I'll tell you what, the interesting part about that is I don't have to wait 30 or 45 minutes to get in. They call right on time, just about. So that part from the waiting, I don't have to go to the waiting room and wait 30, 45 minutes past my appointment. I get a call right at the
That's pretty
time.
funny, isn't it?
It is. It is. So we got some efficiencies.
Uh-huh.
So that's the big one. That's the baseline. So when I talk about kind of the house of you, the brand, whether it is the prescription for living or the workforce, you really have to have that foundation. And if I didn't have and don't have the professional help and consultation, I can't really build on past that. So I can't start looking at my nutrition until I have the diagnosis of exactly what's going on with me. And
Right.
so starting with the professional as kind of the foundation, then for me, the nutrition is really the second of just making sure that I'm eating 3 meals a day, that I'm getting up and I'm eating breakfast, even if I'm not hungry, that I'm eating lunch, that I'm not working through lunch, that I'm eating dinner and having a snack if I'm hungry throughout that time, making sure I'm drinking enough water just so I don't feel dehydrated. And then the third aspect, which I totally neglected, we talked about in an earlier segment, was sleep. I didn't look at sleep as something that I needed to do. It wasn't until I was admitted to the hospital that I was being looked at not only at how am I during the day, but how about at night? If I'm only sleeping 2 hours a day, they can give me as much medication during the day, but if I'm still not sleeping those 2 hours, I'm still going to feel that burnout feeling day after day after day after day, even if I am eating properly nutritious meals. And so getting sleep, I actually have medication that really is antidepressant, but it helps at night when I'm sleeping, and it helps boost the medication during the day. And so that was something that I thought, like, why are they giving me medication at night? That's not where I have the problem. Well, yeah, I did have the problem. I had the problem during the day and at night. So when that was being looked at, I started to think internally, maybe I should take this more serious and look at getting more sleep. And so I shoot for between 7 and 9 hours of sleep each night, it's difficult no matter who you are, having a 18-month-old or not. It's very just tough to do. Our minds are constantly moving. And then the last one, I would say, from the big part of it, but the house that I would like to get to, is limiting the screen time, whether that is from the TV, the phone, the computer, and sensationalized influences, which come through most of the time. They come through the screens. And prior to my crash, I had the iPhone and I was ruminating over and over. I was troubleshooting, internally what I could do to help myself get better, what I thought. And once I went through my crash, I actually reverted back to a flip phone because I wanted to literally start at ground zero and say, okay, I need to just focus on literally sleeping, eating, making sure that I'm just safe, which I am and I have been, but just focusing on
Getting to the basics.
getting those basics, that I was so far in the future that I wasn't able to be in the moment, and I was neglecting family events because of the depression. But a lot of that I look at and also say, well, I was too busy Googling something because for whatever reason. And so I missed out on a lot of things. And now I don't miss out. I'm more in the moment. And if I didn't have the boundaries from the screen time, which I just recently went back to my smartphone, but it was last October. So October of 2019, the crash was in November of 2017. So it was quite a period of time that I had the flip phone, that I felt that I was okay and able to not go back down that rabbit hole.
Okay. So you feel that time away retrained your own self, your habits.
It really did. It really did. And I even asked my wife when I was thinking about getting the phone, I said, what do you think? Do you think I should? And she said, it's up to you. It would help your work and the things you're trying to do, make things more efficient. But if you're going to go down those research and those troubleshooting rabbit holes, then it's not going to be helpful for you.
Do you put it down a lot then? Do you
I
put the
do.
phone physically down and
Yeah,
away from
I
yourself?
put it down and like upside down so I don't see if it lights up. Like even right now, I have the phone in a different room. The Wi-Fi is turned off, everything, and I don't want to be bothered, obviously, because we're doing this. But I do that throughout the course of the day as well. Of okay, if I'm working on a project that I need to use my brain for, I can't be having that side thought that maybe I'm going to get a text message or a phone call during that time. They can, if it's that important, they'll leave a message, they'll drop me an email, send a text, and I'll get to it when I get to it. And I'm not making excuses like I used to of like, oh, I need to check that email right before bed. Now I have those boundaries where I give myself some time to wind down so I'm not going to bed and having my mind so wired still from what I just looked at 5 minutes ago.
That's wonderful. Well, congratulations on all of those great strides that you have made. I really thank you for your insight and openness.
You're
We'll
welcome.
have, I would love, actually, I don't want to be make an assumption here, but I would love to have you back to talk about your other book, The House of You, 5 Workforce Preparation Tips for a Successful Career. And what I really like about that one is that these are the tips you used when you were between positions and they worked for you. So that again really would be very helpful for other people. So let's consider that as the next time we get together. And
Great.
until then, of course, thank you, Justin. Until then, this is Kate Thomas with At Home Radio.